So,
Hi, are we starting? My apologies. I just sending.
go ahead. Do your thing.
You know what? I was sending the final things to my wife, just trying to multitask, organize.
God, how does it work? How does one have a wife?
You're not married. You've never been married.
I have I've never been married. I was engaged at one point, but
You were.
it didn't
Here?
work out. Yeah, I was here.
Oh, you
Yeah.
Were you sober?
Not at first. So I got sober, and my fiance and I broke up about a month into me being sober. Just like I had already put her through so much stuff at that point.
No, that's not surprising. You know what I mean? That makes sense.
What is surprising is that I stayed sober.
Yeah.
A month into being sober, I was just like,
Yeah.
well, okay, I guess that's it, huh? Just the death. Let me just process the death of this dream,
Yeah.
while I
Yeah.
also try to adjust to the, not her fault in the slightest at all. I don't blame her
In case
at
she's
all.
listening.
Yeah,
So this is
I
important
still
for
love
her
you.
to know.
You have my number.
Are we recording? I want to make sure. That
Yeah,
we're
we're-
just in. Okay. And how long do you? I know I'm interviewing you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you got sober. How long have you been sober? And where'd you get sober?
So I got sober here in LA.
You did. Okay. Because you're from.
I'm from California.
Okay.
I grew up north in Modesto. I moved here when I was 17. I'm 32 now. I started going to AA.
Love that.
Or starting to try to get sober when I was 21 years old,
Yeah.
and it didn't stick until I was 29, and I had kind of hit my
Okay.
final rock bottom.
Okay.
Let's hope, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like 21 when I first started trying to get sober.
That's so interesting because
Yeah.
I got sober young, and that young, growing up in AA or trying, I stayed sober. I got sober at 19, 5 days before my 20th birthday. But I tried first earlier, then went out and relapsed for several months, but not as bad. And then, it was terrible, but not as long. And then got sober March 18th of 1994, right? 94, I think. No. Oh my God, that's so sad. I don't know when I got sober. 1991.
Okay.
Because I've been sober 30 years.
Oh, dang! Congratulations.
Yeah, so I'm 50, and so I got sober.
Wow. Okay, so you've been sober straight up 30 years. You just celebrated your 30th.
Yeah, straight up 30 years.
Do you celebrate your 30th birthday, or did I catch that wrong?
I did.
Yep.
I celebrated my 30th birthday.
Wow.
And at the Great Fat Groups, which if people are listening I don't know the where people, because it may not be in LA, but it's a specific group here in Los Angeles. But all on Zoom, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Because we were very much in lockdown in
Wow.
March, because this was in March, so we were very much in lockdown, and and it was good because this whole year was like me getting back to AA.
Yeah.
So, because I have a lot of time, but that doesn't, I guess like so many people, I have not done sobriety. I've had a lot of ups and downs and had a lot of times where I think the last long period I was I'd say less than more. I'm always impressed by people who are just rocks, you know what I mean? I'll drift away from meetings and you go back and there's those same guys sitting in those same chairs.
Yep.
And I want to get to that, but it's true, it hasn't been my story.
Right.
And this, things kind of, the bottom kind of fell out for me late summer, I guess, started. And I really committed. I did 90 and 90, kind of went back to basics, going to a meeting and got a new sponsor because I'd been a bit sponsorless, a bit rudderless for a while. And then I feel now much more committed.
So this year, do you feel like what motivated you to get back into it this year? Did you feel like you kind of hit some sort of a bottom?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I think it was total pain motivation.
Yeah.
Which is, I think it was, I wouldn't say this at the time, but I think with hindsight,
yeah.
I would say that it is really me finally starting to, just trying to run the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And I've got reasons to try to run the show. I've got some stuff that's really hard and things that make me want to feel like I'm doing the right thing by being more on top of things and trying to, or whatever. I think it's a for an alcoholic or really for anybody, it can be a very normal response to
right.
try to apply more pressure, apply your will more.
Right, because you have a family.
I have a family and I have some stuff, and we can maybe get into it. I'm trying to start general, you know what I mean? But it just. I just felt really bad.
Yeah.
And then it was good. It was very good because if I started doing that around, say, August, I think, where I started a 90-90 and recommitting, it was around December that, for me, a whole lot of shit hit the fan. You know, like life just really kind of, there was just a series of unfortunate events of just thing after thing where I had what I think I had a nervous breakdown.
Oh, fuck.
I think. I mean, well, you say that because you're not trying to overstate it.
Right.
And it's not like I had to just go to a facility where I sat outside with a blanket over my knees in like an old rickety wheelchair. But
that's
like,
exactly what I pictured. So I'm glad you cleared that up for me.
So, because it felt more of a process than an event, right?
Yeah.
But I just felt like something like I've said, it almost felt like a guitar string in my head just broke. My brain just went bang, 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 and I was like, I'll never be the same again.
Yeah.
You know, I'm done. I'm broken, and it was scary.
Yeah.
It was really scary to be in that place, to feel like I'm going to work, I'm trying to parent, I'm doing family stuff, but I don't feel sane. I don't feel right. And you know, and people are like, well, that might be a breakdown, or some people said, because now I'm sort of through a breakthrough, which can feel a lot like a breakdown, to get kind of into like ooga booga AA stuff, but that's kind of lovely.
Yeah.
Because now I feel like I'm sort of on the other end of it, and I've learned a whole lot. You know?
Yeah, I think this is really important for people to hear, because I think a lot of the folks that tune into this podcast are, you know, folks that are new in recovery, and I think it's really helpful to know that like life still happens. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
You know,
Hell
like
yeah.
we lose parents, we lose jobs, we lose entire careers, we lose partners, we lose ourselves. Yeah. We go through, you know, when we trudge through all of that stuff, but we do it sober, you know, and I would say, you know, I have said this, I have a hard time not likening things to being in the gym. You and I are both, you know, we're both like, we both are martial artists, right? And I always make gym references, but it's like, you know, if you have a New Year's resolution, you know, or if you're on the pink cloud when you first get sober, I think that that's kind of similar, right? It's like a New Year's resolution. Mm-hmm. Everything is still, you almost have like a manic energy behind everything. And then you lose that and you're like, maybe I don't need to go to so many meetings anymore. Or maybe I don't need to go to the gym as much anymore because I think it's cutting into my time with doing da-da-da. And you start to kind of make excuses and so on and so forth. The gym thing is now running parallel to the recovery thing, but it's like, you know, I start to hate myself. Yes, you know what I mean? It's really what it comes down to.
For it anyway.
Whatever. Okay, so both of these things are running concurrently now. It's the gym metaphor and the other thing. Mm-hmm. They both end up with me not loving myself, you know, and not doing the thing that I set out to do.
Yes.
And, you know, I lose steam, I lose momentum, but life happens, right? And if I make recovery part of my lifestyle, you know, and I really give myself to the program, then I can get through some of that stuff with a little bit of serenity, you know. But when I get tight wound, and I do it too, you know, I mean, I try to run the show too, of course. Like you said, it's really kind of natural, especially after.
It is.
You know,
I heard someone say that the difference between a sober alcoholic and a dry alcoholic is the dry alcoholic can't remember one day from the next. Like they all kind of blend into each other. And I'm sure there's other definitions, but I can relate to that, where you're just stumbling through and you're not really, you know, you're just kind of in this sort of perpetual white knuckle place. Yeah. And it's you know, it's not, I had a sponsor who used to always say, I didn't get sober to have a small life. Yeah. I got sober to have a big life. Yeah. And I feel like for me, making choices throughout sobriety has been remembering that, and because I'm so scared, and I'm so scared. And like when I got married, I've been married twice now. I'm with my second wife, my current wife. No, I'm just kidding. But when I got married the first time, I was so scared. But I was like, I didn't, you know, what are you gonna do? You know, how small do I want to keep my life? And then when I was gonna have kids, I thought, well, you know, this is the next thing. I got sober to do this kind of stuff. And it doesn't have to be that for everybody, but for me it was like, what's the word? Contrary action, right? You know? And it's funny that you lived in Asheville, because whenever I tell people when I want to have a small life, I always have this dream this fantasy where I can't take it anymore because I have like my stuff and all this stuff to manage. Where I'm like, I want to just in my fantasy, I want to move to Asheville because I'm from Raleigh originally, North Carolina.
Okay.
But it's also just Asheville has a magical sort of.
It really does.
It does, does it?
Yeah.
Does it still kind of?
Yeah, it does.
It's a little. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
But in my little fantasy, I want to like move to Asheville by myself, get a little apartment with blue carpeting. I don't know why that is. Oh, that's it. We're done. Good being here.
No, I think that was the
rounds?
universe.
Are we interviewing in rounds?
That was round one, bro.
Okay,
Take a break. The coach comes and give you some water. Okay. He's like, all right, listen, man, you're getting a little tight in there.
So
get the blue carpet.
I want a blue carpet, like a little radio that just plays NPR in a coffee pot.
Yes.
And some books and like an ashtray. And I don't even smoke. I haven't smoked
Right.
I used to, but I haven't smoked in years. But in my fantasy, I just kind of sit in my little small world with as much that I can handle.
Yeah.
And then, there is something really attractive about that.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me?
But, but I'm also like, that's not where I'm at now. I can't go to that. And also, I'm so impressed by people who take things on and do stuff. I don't want fear to rule all.
Right. God, man. My life is huge right now. It's enormous. There's just so much stuff going on. Yesterday, right now I'm rehearsing for a musical, and I'm learning all these crunchy harmonies that are like, it's like a mind game trying to remember all of these like bizarre like harmonies that kind of don't sit in your like natural purview of what you think you're supposed to sing.
Well, you're a tenor. Are you a tenor?
I'm a tenor.
I can tell. I guess I'm all done, folks. She's gonna.
That's it.
I have some songs prepared. Oh, sorry. Back to the table.
The next round, once that bell goes off, you better start singing. So and I've got that going on. I'm chasing down that purple belt.
Right.
I'm trying to get in there at least 3 times a week at least.
Sure.
But
also you teach something over there. What do you teach?
I teach an exercise
class. Talked about
class.
this on here. I apologize to bore people, but what do you teach?
I teach an exercise class called TAC-FIT. And I'm actually just kind of like a sub. Like I'll come in when they need somebody to fill in for them. But I was teaching it like 5 days a week before I moved to Asheville. And then I was teaching it to the clients at Oasis, the recovery center that I worked at. And that was great because it's been very it's been very supplemental to my recovery. Martial arts, exercise, learning some breathing techniques, some yoga stuff, just trying to
Yeah. This is an active house.
Round 2. Okay, so you guys can't see this, but there's this crazy clock that gets wound up. Kathy, my roommate, will wind that thing up, and then those little bell things, they get drawn up into it, and the weight of them is what makes the thing tick. Isn't that wild?
We had one of these growing up. It was a grandfather clock, they called it. And so this one, it doesn't have the wooden shell. Yeah. But ours was like that. But it's, if you guys could see it, it's really...
There's an enormous swinging phallic symbol.
Yes.
I mean,
and it looks like it's from like the early 1900s, probably, or something crazy.
I mean, it's weird. Yeah, it's really neat.
But so TAC-FIT is it combat oriented exercise?
Well, it was created by a martial artist, and I think a lot of the movements it's functional movement patterns. So it's about creating sustainability and making yourself resilient and injury proof. Learning to breathe under stress, which is very valuable when you're doing the jits. Come on. But it's also big in life too, right? Like trying to breathe when you have when you're stressed. You don't even realize 100%. You're like...
I mean, I'm reading... There's a book out now, and I don't want to... It's a book about breath, and I could look it up if it matters. I don't know if we're allowed to give plugs, but it's by this guy who studied breathing.
What's his name?
Oh, God. I'll look it up as we talk. But this guy he himself is not a breath expert.
Okay.
But he just went on a trek of I'm going to study all this stuff. People that can heal themselves with breathing, people that can raise their core temperature, people that can melt snow, dry clothes. They can do all of this stuff. We're just gonna edit that out. Don't worry, guys. No, but he can do and just how far people can go with that.
Is it not Wim Hof?
No, but he certainly talks about him.
Yeah, because he can raise his core temperature with breathing, right?
Yes, he's somebody that he studied a lot, and I think what he talks about in the book a lot is how there was always through the centuries people that claim this stuff, right? These monks that could go out and melt snow with it, all this stuff, but there was no scientific evidence of it, so it had a little bit of a fictional quality to it. But then in the 20th century, with film and recording devices, it became apparent that people really could do stuff with breath.
Some incredible stuff.
What's his name? How do you say his name?
Wim Hof.
Wim Hof, yeah. Like him. That was for real.
Yeah.
And how... So anyway, so the book is called Breath. And I am just suggesting it for sake of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But his name is James Nestor, and it's called The New Science of a Lost Art. Breath,
wow.
The New Science of a Lost Art. And he just is going through it and his own stuff. Like it starts off with him, he had his nose surgically plugged basically for 2 weeks just to be a mouth breather, and the effects that had on the body and how detrimental it was to his body.
Wow.
And then he did 2 weeks or started a journey of breathing through his nose, and how much, he did it on purpose, like just to kind of see how important nose breathing is and the rhythm of breathing. And it's a big thing in jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
And everyone that's listening knows this, and I can be really bad at it. You know what I'm really bad at it is scrambling.
Okay.
I just stop, apparently.
Yeah.
So I'll scramble, and then I'll get a good position, a bad position, and then I realize, fuck, I just lost everything. I just lost all my gas.
Yeah.
And so there'll be times where I'm really almost just, that's all I'm thinking about. In jiu-jitsu, I'm like, I'm going to do this round just breathing slow and see what happens, because if I don't, I think there's people that are probably just naturally better at it. I don't know. I'm not a very good breather.
When did you start doing jiu-jitsu?
2007?
2007?
I'm guessing.
Okay.
I'm guessing 2007.
So you're looking at like 13, 14 years?
I'm looking at 13, 14 years. I'm a brown belt. It was a Jean-Jacques Machado brown belt. Let's see.
So that was halfway into your journey so far of sobriety.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think this is my third jiu-jitsu sober podcast I've done, by the way, this month.
This is not a jiu-jitsu podcast by any means. This is actually...
it's not?
No, it's whatever you fell in love with in recovery podcast.
No, you're kidding.
Yeah.
I really thought it was, because I was making a joke. Like, this was so specific. It's about for sober guys that do jiu-jitsu. And I thought, I was going to make a joke about how I just did a Jeet Kune Do sober podcast, an arm wrestling sober podcast.
Hey, big guy. You do JKD?
No, I'm just making jokes. No. But I thought, so this is is this really more for jiu-jitsu guys, or do you think is it for people?
This is for all peoples in recovery.
All peoples in recovery.
Yeah, and what it is so what I like to ask people is...
Oh, tell me.
Tell me a little bit of your story,
okay.
But the main question that I like to ask people is, what did you fall in love with in recovery? What did you discover about yourself and fall in love with?
Okay.
Do
you
passions,
yes.
People.
Do you want to structure this that way? Is that better? Are we jumping around too much? Because you'll listen to these things and you know what works and what doesn't.
This is working great for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to edit out any of this stuff we're talking about right now.
Okay. I started jiu-jitsu. So I think my history with combat sports, I like that word, by the way.
It's good.
I like martial arts, but I really love combat sports. I think it's such a great phrase.
Yeah.
But it was martial arts at first, was very early in sobriety. And I think with me, this is just, I didn't grow up a fighter. And I know there's a lot of guys that go into, obviously, who are just natural fighters. They grew up scrapping. I know a bunch of them. And I was more scared. You know what I mean? I was a guy who, first of all, when I was growing up, I was Ichabod Crane skinny. I was like Shaggy Doo skinny.
Yeah.
And the kind where people would grab your arms and be like, "Oh, you're so skinny," and shake you, and you're like, "I don't feel like a man." And and I was just, and then once high school hit, I was drinking and chain smoking cigarettes as best much I could. So I was just not an athletic kid, So it was after I got sober, I had a sponsor in Greensboro, North Carolina, who was this crazy, wonderful guy who was an ex-mercenary and a Green Beret, one of the special forces in Vietnam, and just a nut in a lovely way, but a real serious guy. He started teaching me and a couple other guys this martial art called Yusul. It's a Korean cat form. If anyone wants to correct this, please do, but this is just what we did. But we would meet at his house, and we would train in his backyard and in his basement. And it was very like we would run barefoot around the park that he lived on in the snow. Even if it was snowing, raining, whatever it was, we were barefoot. And we would run, and then he would fill up a big pot with dry rice, and we'd have to punch the dry rice and spear hand the dry rice to toughen up our hands. And we would roll up a brick on if you can see where, like you'd have a bar with like a rope and then a brick hang down, and you'd roll it up to like for forearm stuff. Like really like, I guess isometric, or I don't know what the word is, but like it's not weight training, but like, all this crazy shit. And we'd work on this bag, and it was great because I felt strong, and I felt, I was getting in shape, and it was structure because I was only a couple years sober, I'm guessing. I was probably 21 maybe when I was doing this. And I did this for a little bit, and it was really cool. I don't know how practical it was as far as fighting, but I don't know. I mean, we were stretching like crazy, doing a bunch of crazy shit, and it was cool.
You were using your body, though.
Using your body,
You're getting in touch with your body and your power again,
And that was the first time I started doing that. And then I was in Raleigh for a little bit, and I started doing, I think, Shotokan karate. Not for long. I ended up getting like tendonitis. I did something to my arm, and I took a break, and then I just kind of fell out of it for a while. And then my story was, I think, that was kind of the end of my martial arts for a while. Because then I moved to New York City, where I was an actor, and a struggling actor, and working and just trying to get through. Sober and doing stuff. And then I moved out here soon after 9/11 to Los Angeles, and started doing stuff out here. I got married, but it was so. Then in 2000, a couple years later, I started doing karate. I started doing Kempo at this place over on Hillhurst in Los Feliz area of Los Angeles, and I was doing Kempo and a little bit of Muay Thai, and then they were doing I think it was Gracie Jiu-Jitsu there. And I was watching that and sort of like, okay, and I started doing that. And then I left that gym and I went to another gym. But I think the point is that there was just something so intriguing about jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Right? Like, I mean, if this is for people that don't do it, I mean, jiu-jitsu is like violent chess. It's like this weird, and I'm not that great at it, I think. I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I think I'm fine. I'm not great. I don't have an engineering brain. It seems like a lot of the people that do really good at jiu-jitsu, they have like a mathematical engineering brain. And I'm fascinated by the way that they work. And I don't have that.
Me neither. I'm like super instinct guy.
Yeah, and I kind of muscle my way through, and I'm strong.
I'm trying not to be like that.
Dude, totally. But I just was, and so all the other stuff that I was doing, like, the Kempo and the other stuff, and all that kind of just started to drift away as I started doing more and more jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And that was kind of how I got to it. And then I was getting my ass handed to me, which I think is pretty normal, but just bad.
Yeah.
And I remember I would come home to my wife at the time, and I was, complaining and bruised up and just kind of demoralized.
Yeah, just downtrodden.
But just downtrodden. And she would say, why don't you just quit?
Yeah.
And she meant it lovingly. She wasn't being a jerk. She was like, you don't seem happy at all.
You're like, oh, no, I love it.
I was like, no. And because I compare it to like learning a language.
Yeah.
Like there's just a time when you're like, I've been studying this for fucking ever.
Right.
And I still know 7 phrases.
Conjugating these verbs is just nonsense.
Yeah, I can meet you on the street for a sandwich still after like months and months of studying this.
Yeah. Only in the present tense.
In the present tense.
We eat the sandwich?
That's it. Yeah,
no, you meet me question.
Totally. And so that's how I felt about it. And I was very, and so I think as a person who, if this is for, I'm sure a lot of sober people can relate, of just not committing to things.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I was really committed to this thing.
Yeah.
Going all the time, even if I wasn't good, even if I was losing, and whatever I thought of myself and that, I just kept going.
Yeah.
And here I am years later, still doing it.
Sometimes it takes a while, right, to find the thing that you want to continue to show up for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Because at first it's really important, I think, to just start saying yes to new stuff. You know what I mean? Because we don't know ourselves a lot of times when we get sober.
It makes you wonder what you're supposed to be wonderful at. Am I supposed to be an oboe player?
Right.
And I didn't know that?
Yeah. Why didn't anybody tell me?
You know what I mean? Like, I look at my kids and I'm like, I want to throw shit at them because who knows?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how does anyone become...
And now you don't mean phically throwing things at your children.
No, it's for the sake of the podcast and legal reasons. I'm not throwing oboes at my children.
I'm lightly handing it to their...
but that's exactly. Like this kind of like, well, what are you good at?
Right.
And oh my God, wait, hold on.
Or no, not even just what are you good at? What do you want to do? Because you don't even freaking know at first, right?
Totally, that's exactly it. Because again, I would say I'm not great at jiu-jitsu,
and you were,
but I'll go.
Right.
I'll go.
And you were 19 when you got sober too. So like, what the hell did you even know about yourself yet? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I was 29, a full 10 years later, and I was like, wait, what do I even like to do for fun? What do I even do anymore?
Yeah.
Because I was just like, oh, go to the bar, I guess. And sometimes I would go to the bar as a sober person and be like, because I had no idea what else to do. Not a good idea, by the way. Don't do that.
And I still struggle with that.
Yeah.
I got to say, again, I'm 30 years sober, and I'm here, and I do okay, but I'm not a woodworker.
Right.
I'm not a guy who goes home and can't wait to like look at my stamps, and I kind of wish I was. You know, and jiu-jitsu is great, but it's something you have to go to. It's organized. It's hard on the body. It's a thing. But I do struggle as a sober person about what do I do?
Yeah.
And sometimes I just pace and kind of wait for the next thing. And
I'm trying not to scroll on my phone so
Jesus
much.
God, phones are the fucking worst. I mean, they've just ended me.
They're incredible.
ADHD kind of. They've ended me, though. I mean, I'm a mess.
It's horrible, right? There's just the dopamine fix. You're like pulling it down to make it refresh. It's like hitting a slot machine over and over again.
Even for the bad stuff.
Come on.
Like, no matter what it is, I've got to I've lost my mind. I used to read so much. I'm a reader, and I still do, but now it takes me like 9 months to read a book because I'm like, but it's terrible. It's terrible, and it's such a thing. And it's like given the choice between boredom and a phone, you choose boredom. Given the choice, the phone between reading and a phone, anything. It's just the phone wins.
Yeah, I've been having a hard time I'm making myself be creative recently. Because I'm writing a show. I'm writing a rock opera right now, and especially after a day of learning crunchy harmonies, and training in the early morning because that's the only time I can do it right now. I get home and I'm tired and I just want to watch TV and scroll on my phone.
Yeah, I say like I want to consume instead of produce.
Yeah,
right. And producing seems hard, and it's just starting producing that's hard because once you're doing it, it's kind of a lovely outpouring of whatever's inside. But just getting to it is really hard.
Have you read David Goggins at all? David Goggins' book?
I don't. No. I don't think so. What's his book?
Well, what I'm about to get into is that I've never read it either, but I hear that it would be good for us to read. I hear it would be good for us to read.
A book they haven't read.
Yeah, I think it would be great for us to read that book. How about like when somebody sends you like, it almost feels like a contingency of your friendship is that you read this article that's going to take you like an hour to read, and you're like, dude, fuck you.
Totally. There's so much content now. I feel like, again, we've just kind of like, I want bullet points for everything. I want a BuzzFeed list. And
I looked at
what's
your
happening
thing.
To me.
I looked at your thing you sent me, but just so you know, I love you. I'm not reading that.
I love that you talk about, by the way, what you're doing with this musical, because I think I try to be a multifaceted person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I tell people like I watch UFC and Project Runway. Like these are the things. Like, my wife and I will watch Project Runway or those kinds of shows, like these things. Like I because I'm an actor. Now I'm a voice actor, but I've always been an actor. And then doing jiu-jitsu, and then you're like writing and stuff, and it's part of that thing of like being like a big life. Like I try to do as many different things as I can. Sometimes
I feel like I would like to just cut a couple of those things out. Like going back to the blue carpet, you want to live in this cool environment where all of the the red hotness of your life is like has been tempered by this nice cool blue carpet.
Maybe that's what it is. Oh, that's interesting.
It's a cool color.
Oh, that's really interesting.
It's a cool color. It's like being immersed in a water, in a river and being baptized or something.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating that you say that, because it is a very specific. Maybe there's something very calming. Like, I don't want to live in a hot pink carpeted apartment. Like, there's just something about like just nothing, almost no sensory input.
A forest green or a nice dark ocean blue or whatever.
Yeah.
My fantasy, because I have the same one essentially, is, have you ever read Siddhartha?
Yeah.
Siddhartha is one of my favorite books of all time, right?
Yeah.
And he at one point goes and lives by the river for the rest of his life. He like eventually he's born rich and he gives it all up and goes and lives in the woods, and he's like shivering in the brambles, basically naked, meditating for months at a time, not eating. And then he's like, well, that was cool, but I learned everything I'm going to learn from that. And then he goes into the city and becomes a wealthy man. Like he builds his own fortune, and he makes love to this courtesan every night that he's very attracted to, and he drinks and eats very rich foods, and he wears perfume in his hair, and so on and so forth. Sometimes he gets so sick of himself that he's like, screw this, I'm going to go kill myself. He's just so sick of himself.
This is great.
So he's about to go drown himself in the river, and then he hears, and he's just tormented, like so much so that he's like, I'm done. And he's like hanging by a tree, about to let himself drop into this river to drown himself. And then he hears the river whisper the word Om to him, and he like falls into a deep and dreamless sleep, and he decides to live the rest of his life by this river. And he works with this ferryman, taking people back and forth over the river. That's his whole life, just paddling people across the river.
And so is that like making your life small or making your life simple, right? And that's the thing, right? Because I feel like there's also just a lot of excess fat in life, right? And a lot of bullshit, and a lot of it's self-inflicted, and a lot of stuff. And how do I don't want to make my life small, but I really want to focus.
Yes.
And it's been such a weird year for all of us, right? With COVID, this is hopefully towards the end, but God only knows.
Right, and we wanted to check in on our phones to see how things were going out there.
Yeah. And it was just all the things that everything got shifted, and I don't know. I really want to. Some of it's my age too, right? Because I'm not 32 anymore. But it is like, what's important, Like what is really important? What do I want? I was making a list recently of like, what do I want to focus on? Because I think as an alcoholic and as a person, I just can get distracted. I almost live through distraction, and that's what phones are.
Right.
Like, it's just a distraction. Like, as opposed to an intentionality, I'm living in distraction.
I think that the question becomes, what are we trying to distract ourselves from?
Yeah.
Like, we're saying, because I have the same thing, and I've been talking about this and thinking about this a lot recently. I think a lot of us have. Is what is it that I'm trying to distract myself from? Am I in pain? Am I?
Yeah, I mean, I can say, I guess I am, right? I don't know, but it seems to be that common thread of people in AA of just they can't be present.
Right.
They have to get out of themselves
right.
somehow.
Yeah.
It's really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's very heartbreaking,
Yeah.
My dad died in December, and he was a strange guy. He was a tough figure. He didn't beat me up or abuse, but he was just not there and almost Aspergery. And God, I don't know where I'm going with this. We may have to cut this out. But it, just so much of. I think I've heard that we recreate our childhood homes in the workplace and in our relationships. That's something that, there's a psychological model. You recreate your childhood homes and your relationships in the workplace so you can then fix it. And, I think I had a lot of empty pain as a kid. And I don't know, we don't get into it too much in AA because it's not AA, right? Like the idea of childhood wounding and stuff. And I think that's fair, but it certainly runs congruent with AA, with sobriety. Like digging in the dirt to find out why, and sometimes AA is, I love it because it's self-knowledge will get you nowhere, and it's about just moving forward. But I feel like there's a lot of trauma a lot of people carry.
Yeah.
around. Tremendous amount of trauma.
Yeah. And I think
Help me shape this. I apologize if I'm not, but it's
no,
just...
no, no. I think it's just indicative of I mean, this is I asked, what are we distracting ourselves from? Now we're going to talk about our trauma a little bit, right? Like maybe I'm trying to distract myself from my childhood trauma,
Yeah.
and you could have the most loving parents in the world and still have trauma, but if there was, I experienced loss really early on. I grew up in my house where my grandfather was essentially like my other parent because my mom wasn't around. So I experienced the trauma of not having a mom present in my life in the traditional sense. She was alive, she was usually 1 or 2 states away, and I'd have to go and see her only for holidays, and I wanted to see her really, really bad. She was like a superhero in my life, to me in my mind as a little boy. But then I had my grandfather who was like my person. I grew up on his lap, and he died when I was 8, so it was like losing a parent, In fact, it was losing a parent, really, because he was parenting me in a lot of ways. And my father did his best to raise me by himself, me and my sister. So, there's going to be trauma,
Totally.
There flat out is going to be trauma.
Yeah, and alcoholics we haven't cornered the market on that, right? It's just interesting that it then, for us, it metabolizes or partially, whatever the sort of alchemy is that makes us alcoholics, but it becomes part of it, and this sort of how the drinking just, you feel so whole. I know at a very young age I didn't feel whole.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but I felt something, and I was... and then all of a sudden, I was drinking and everything just went away. And
peace.
It was so lovely.
Yeah.
It was really lovely.
Yeah.
We talk about that, right? I mean, there's no reason to deny that. It's
right.
when it's working, it's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful. And
it's like getting a big mommy hug.
Oh, man. I remember the first time I drank, I really got drunk with a friend of mine. We went to a birthday party. We were in junior high. And as it started to go away, the buzz, I went into the bathroom and just spun in circles, hoping that I could reactivate it.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because I just didn't want it to dissipate.
That's so intriguing.
And yeah.
You know that if you're having a lucid dream and you start to wake up or you start to realize that you're dreaming, one of the ways to stay in the dream and not wake up into waking life is to spin around in circles.
No, really?
Yeah, isn't that wild?
That's really wild.
I mean, but spinning around in circles is like the only high that we had access to as little children,
Yes.
Yeah,
right? And I thought, well, if I can marry these two.
Right.
No, but it's, and so, I don't know, but just trying to, figure out, I mean, we're never going to fix it, right? But just figure out where all this stuff comes from to a degree. Maybe it's just also where I'm at because my dad died. So you're in a weird place and you're mourning who he wasn't instead of who he was to a certain degree, right? Because, anyway, I'll stop there. Go ahead.
Did you and your dad have a chance to, did you do an amends? Did you ever owe your dad an amends or vice versa?
I think that I really went through a lot of work in AA to humanize my dad.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever did the amends where, I think I probably did the amends wrong at some point earlier sobriety of hey, I forgive you for being a dick, which of course is obviously not how it's prescribed. But, and I didn't say those words, but, just a little bit of that, but that's fine. He survived that. But I just mean that. But then I think there was just me, people are doing the best they can with the tools they have, right? And most parents are that. And being a parent, you learn that. You're really doing the best you can with the tools you have. And I look at my dad, who was oldest of 5 kids with alcoholic parents, kind of raising his siblings, and then he went off to Vietnam and had PTSD for the rest of his life from Vietnam, untreated, And I think, all of a sudden you stop taking it so personally. I think part of sobriety for me has been this, not taking stuff personally and looking at him as a man who, what made him who he was, and that made me feel more at peace with who he was. And after his passing, and he passed during COVID, and I haven't been back. I'm finally going back soon. I mean, it all happened very distantly in this bizarre COVID way of where, but I feel like I don't have as much unresolved with him as much. And I know that the few times, interesting, because he's kind of Asperger and just kind of shut off and very serious and kind of weird. But I know the times that I would talk to him to be like, hey, I want to talk about me and us and this thing. He could really drop into real in a way that I was shocked by. You know what I mean? Like, it would, like, you know, since we're on camera, it'd be like, oh, you know, and he's just kind of weird. And then you'd be like, you know, the thing about feeling, he's like, oh, really? I'm sorry you feel that way. And you're like, who the fuck are you? You know, like, it was really shocking.
Wow.
And lovely. But something that my mom said to me a long time ago, which stuck with me, and I thought this is so brilliant, was I was bitching to her about my relationship with him or things that I didn't get from him and maybe some stuff with her. And she said, you know, there's going to be some things you're never going to resolve with us, and you're going to have to resolve them with your family and resolve them with your kids. And I was like, wow, that's very profound. That's very profound. You know, my dad never asked me how I was. Just never was like, how are you? Hey, how you doing? How's school? He just never did. And God knows I do that with my kids, probably to a fault. You know, like you resolve that going forward, where now I talk to my kids probably to the point where they're like, could I have some space there, Pops? But, you know, I've overcorrected. But, you know, I really want to, I want to give them, you know, you want to give them stuff you didn't have.
Yeah.
And I think it always gets better. Hopefully, if something's correct, things are getting better and better generationally, right? Like if you're sober or whatever, you know, you're doing a little bit better. And so I hope that that's the case.
Yeah. I hear you.
But were we supposed to talk? We're jumping around about things that bring us. I mean, jumped into that, but is the focus of this podcast more about the things that bring you joy, things that you found passion, or is it just about whatever?
You know, it's about whatever. Essentially, it's the main question that I make sure to ask everybody though is, what did you fall in love with in recovery? And I was just getting ready to ask you that. I just wanted to give you space to chat about the stuff that's really going on, because it's important for people to see that we have rich and varied lives, and that we deal with life on life's terms as it comes at us, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, tell me, please, what are some of the other things besides the martial arts or combat sports that you fell in love with in recovery? Oh, wait, actually, something also popped up into my head. I'm an actor as well, you know? I'm getting paid to act in something. Hey,
well, I kind of find out what this is you're doing. You probably won't talk about it now, but we'll talk afterwards.
I'll share it with you. I'll talk about it. It's called For the Record Tarantino, and it is a musical mashup of the films of Quentin Tarantino.
You see the ads on the Instagram.
We're all over the place.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, and I think it's sold out for like the first 2 months or something.
I can't believe you're doing that. We're gonna do jiu-jitsu now. We have to pan out. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You're in that.
Yeah.
And that's in Los Feliz? No, where the hell is that?
That is in Hollywood proper, right on Hollywood Boulevard, Hollywood and Ivar, basically. At this place called the Bourbon Room, where they were doing Rock of Ages. Now we've taken over the venue, and we're getting ready to do this Tarantino show, man. And I get to play Butch the Boxer from Pulp Fiction. I get to play Christoph Waltz's character from Django, Dr. King Schultz. Yeah, and I get to do the impression of him, which is fun, you know, so.
Oh my God, that is so great.
Yeah, but I wanted to say, as a fellow actor in recovery,
yes,
that is a tough job to have as someone like us who obsesses about all kinds of shit, like having a job where it is essentially dependent upon somebody liking you in order for you to work.
Oh,
that
God.
sucks.
Oh my God. Okay, so that's an interesting question.
As somebody who has to get a job by making sure that somebody likes them, that sucks for us.
Okay. Well, it's fun. Okay, so, you know, so obviously a huge passion in my life has been and always was acting. Always. Like from it, you know, next to alcohol, it was the next thing that made me feel complete. Yeah. Right? You know, like I understand as a young person, I was Big Fish, Little Pond and high school productions. Mm-hmm. You know, I was really talented, and I say that with, I'm just saying, you know, like at a high school. Like I was, like immediately I was getting all the leads in the plays. And I was celebrated, and, you know, it's all small stuff, but you're just so, you feel so you're good at it, and then for people that like they need validation, you're just getting tons of that. And I went to college and studied it, and then I went to New York. And then I think my thing about things that I love is I think I don't have it in me to sell myself like an air conditioner unit. And I've never been good at that.
Yeah.
And I think the people that succeed at that are really great at that. And some of them I would make fun of because I would talk about their narcissism and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But who am I to judge? You know what I mean? Some of them are just, they know they need to, that's what they got to do.
Yeah, they got to get a job and they know what it takes.
They know, like as they say in acting, your job is getting a job,
Yeah.
right? That's your job. And so I was always terrible at it. I just thought that I was just going to do theater in New York and someone was going to see me and be like, come with me, kid.
Right.
You know, like,
Yeah.
you're talented. Come with me.
I've seen it in movies 1,000 times.
In movies. And you hear the one or two stories where that's the truth. Like
Right.
Brad Pitt, these gorgeous, or somebody.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so you think that's...
God, he's good looking.
That's how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't doing that. And I was like... And I love acting. So to talk about what I love it. But I was really stuck in the frustrations of that aspect of it. Really. And I saw myself... I left New York because I was in New York working a temp job. And I thought... And I was like 30, whatever the hell I was. And I thought, I am going to wake up at 50, still working the same temp job, doing free theater at night for no one, and be like, what the hell happened in my life?
Right.
And I got really, and so I moved to Los Angeles because, but it is, I mean, it does make sense to a degree. I mean, it's so business centric here. It's very, you know, I mean, this is kind of the epicenter for people that are listening that don't care or know about film and TV and theater and all that stuff. I mean, LA is a very, you know, in New York, it's a very artistic, and I felt very artistically fulfilled.
Right.
But I was not, you know, getting anywhere.
Yeah.
Because I was doing free theater and I was, you know, with people and it was lovely. But coming out here was the right move. But I think that aspect of having to constantly be rejected and going out for work, I think wore on me and wears on me in a way that I don't have the skin for it. And so what happened with me is I got into voice work, and the way that I always wanted it to happen for acting, which is, hey, you're good at this. Come over here and do this now. You're good at it. Come over, just keep doing it. I always wanted that to happen for acting, and it wasn't. But with voice, it just started happening that way. So I felt like, so I've kind of stuck with that. And then having kids, I have 2 boys plus a stepson, and a lot of stuff, and there's kids, some stuff there, but enough that I have fallen out of auditioning for a while now because I just do voice and
you keep getting work.
And I keep getting work. I mean, I totally stay busy and I'm not poo-pooing that. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
But it's not acting.
Right.
I mean, it is and it isn't.
Yeah.
You know, but
I
it's
hear
not
you.
like creating a character and getting to see yourself up on a thing and stuff like that.
What kind of characters, given the opportunity, what kind of characters would you like to play?
You know, I think when I look back, I always wanted to be in a show like The West Wing.
Okay.
Like politics. I love politics. I don't love it now because it's no fun anymore because everything's so awful.